There was a moment in my life when I felt surrounded, pressed on every side by fear, uncertainty, and forces I could not explain. I prayed, but my prayers felt like whispers in a storm. I searched, but every answer seemed hidden behind a veil. And then, in that quiet desperation, I discovered something powerful. God has never left His people without revelation, without protection, and without authority. Tonight, I want to speak to you about unlocking mysteries, deep ancient mysteries that have stirred curiosity for generations. The so-called 6th and 7th books of Moses. But listen carefully, this is not about chasing darkness. This is about understanding the authority of light. It is about reclaiming the truth that no hidden knowledge, no secret power, and no force in existence can stand against the divine protection given by God to His children. You see, many people are searching for power in the wrong places. They are hungry for control, for protection, for answers. But I tell you tonight, with faith rising in my spirit, there is a greater power already given to you. A power not rooted in fear, not born of confusion, but established in the living presence of God. So as we begin, open your heart, not to fear, not to superstition, but to truth. Because when truth enters, darkness must leave. When God reveals, confusion breaks. And when you understand your spiritual authority, chains will fall, fear will bow, and your life will never be the same again. Are you ready to step into that authority tonight? There is a deep hunger in the human soul, a longing to know, to control, to overcome what we cannot see. From generation to generation, people have searched for power, not just physical strength, not just influence over circumstances, but spiritual authority, the kind that can silence fear, break oppression, and bring peace into chaos. And because of this hunger, many have turned to hidden things, mysterious writings, ancient secrets, believing that somewhere within them lies the key to dominion over life's unseen battles. But listen carefully, because this is where truth must rise above confusion. The true source of spiritual authority has never been hidden in darkness. It has never been reserved for the few who chase secret knowledge or mystical codes. The true source of authority has always been revealed openly by God Himself. It is not concealed in fear. It is established in relationship. It is not activated by rituals. It is released through faith. When we speak of authority, we are not talking about control rooted in human effort. We are talking about a divine inheritance, something given, not earned, something established, not discovered through trial and error. In the beginning, God created humanity with authority. Authority to stand, to rule, to live in dominion under His covering. But when fear entered, when separation came, that sense of authority was shaken. And ever since then, humanity has been trying to reclaim what was never meant to be regained through human striving. This is why people are drawn to mysterious texts and ancient systems, because they promise access, they promise control, they promise protection. But what they often deliver is confusion, fear, and deeper spiritual uncertainty. Because any authority that does not come from God will always demand something in return. Your peace, your clarity, your freedom. The authority that comes from God is different. It does not bind you, it frees you. It does not confuse you, it gives you clarity. It does not isolate you, it draws you into His presence. And this authority is not distant. It is not reserved for a select group of spiritual elites. It is available to every believer who understands who they are and whose they are. Faith becomes the key that unlocks this authority. Not blind belief, but confident trust in the word and character of God. When a person begins to see themselves not as weak, not as vulnerable, not as a victim of unseen forces, but as someone covered, protected, and empowered by God, something begins to shift inside them. Fear loses its grip. Doubt begins to weaken, and a quiet confidence starts to rise. Not arrogance, but assurance. There is power in knowing that your authority does not come from what you have learned in secret, but from what God has spoken openly. There is power in standing on truth rather than chasing mystery, because mystery can pull you deeper into uncertainty, but truth anchors you. Truth gives you something to stand on when everything else feels unstable. And this authority is not theoretical, it is practical. It shows up in how you respond to fear. It shows up in how you face adversity. It shows up in the peace you carry even when circumstances try to shake you. Because when you know your source, you stop looking for substitutes. When you understand that your authority is rooted in God, you stop being intimidated by anything that tries to appear powerful. Many people think authority must feel dramatic, overwhelming, even mystical. But often, true authority is quiet. It is steady. It is the calm confidence that says, "I am not alone." It is the inner strength that refuses to bow to fear. It is the unwavering belief that no matter what rises against you, there is a greater power within you and covering you. This is where the shift happens, not in external rituals, not in hidden formulas, but in internal revelation. When your understanding changes, your posture changes. When your posture changes, your life begins to reflect that authority. You no longer react out of panic, you respond out of faith. You no longer chase protection, you walk in it. You no longer seek power, you live from it. And suddenly, the things that once seemed overwhelming begin to lose their influence. Not because they disappeared, but because you are no longer standing beneath them. You are standing from a different place, a place of authority that was never meant to be hidden, never meant to be complicated, and never meant to be feared. There is a fine line, so subtle yet so critical, between the power that comes from God and the pull of hidden mysticism. And many people, even sincere seekers, find themselves standing on that line without realizing how dangerous it can be. Because not everything that appears spiritual is from God. Not everything that feels powerful carries truth. And not everything that promises protection is safe. Discernment is not optional in the spiritual journey, it is essential. It is the ability to see beyond appearances, to sense what is true and what is deceptive, what brings life and what slowly drains it. And in a world filled with voices, teachings, symbols, and systems claiming to offer deeper knowledge, discernment becomes your safeguard. You see, the power of God is never rooted in confusion. It does not hide behind secrecy that produces fear. It does not require you to step into darkness to access light. God's power is consistent with His nature, pure, clear, life-giving, and anchored in truth. When God moves, there is peace even in intensity, clarity even in mystery, and assurance even when you do not understand everything. But hidden mysticism often works differently. It attracts through curiosity. It pulls through the promise of control. It whispers, "There is more," but only if you come deeper into this hidden path. And step by step, what begins as curiosity can become dependence. What begins as exploration can become entanglement. Because the deeper you go into something that is not rooted in God, the harder it becomes to distinguish truth from illusion. This is why discernment must be developed, not assumed. It grows through relationship with God, through understanding His Word, through sensitivity to His Spirit. It is not about fear of everything unfamiliar. It is about clarity in recognizing what aligns with truth. Because when you truly know the nature of God, anything that contradicts that nature becomes easier to identify. The challenge is that mysticism often imitates elements of truth. It may use language that sounds spiritual. It may reference ancient traditions. It may even appear to produce results. But results alone are not proof of truth. Power alone is not proof of God's presence. The source matters. The foundation matters. Because anything built on the wrong foundation, no matter how impressive it appears, will eventually lead to instability. Discernment asks deeper questions. It looks beyond the surface and asks, what is the source of this power? What does it produce in the heart? Does it bring peace or does it create unease? Does it lead me closer to God or pull me into something I cannot clearly define? Does it strengthen my faith or replace it with dependence on something else? And sometimes the most dangerous deceptions are the ones that do not feel immediately harmful. They are subtle. They blend in. They do not confront your beliefs directly. They slowly reshape them. They introduce ideas that seem harmless at first, but over time they shift your focus away from God and onto methods, symbols, or practices that begin to take His place. True discernment requires honesty. It requires the courage to step back and evaluate even when something feels intriguing. It requires the humility to admit that not everything we are curious about is beneficial. And it requires the willingness to let go of anything that does not align with truth, no matter how appealing it may seem. There is safety in clarity. There is freedom in truth. When you walk in discernment, you are not easily shaken by every new idea or spiritual trend. You are not drawn into confusion by things that promise more but deliver less. You become steady, grounded, and aware. And this awareness does not make you fearful, it makes you strong. Because you are no longer navigating blindly. You are not reacting to everything that appears powerful. You are rooted in something deeper, something unchanging. The more you grow in discernment, the more you begin to recognize patterns. You see how deception operates. You notice how it often begins with something small, something seemingly insignificant. And you also begin to recognize truth more quickly, not just intellectually, but internally. There is a sense of alignment, a resonance that confirms what is right. And in that place, you are no longer easily swayed. You are no longer searching for power in uncertain places. You are no longer drawn by mystery for the sake of mystery. Instead, you are anchored. You are clear. You are able to stand firm even when surrounded by conflicting voices, because your foundation is no longer built on curiosity. It is built on truth. Fear has a way of entering quietly. It does not always announce itself with noise or chaos. Sometimes it comes as a thought, a question, a subtle unease that settles into the heart and begins to grow. It whispers about what might happen, what could go wrong, what unseen forces might be working against you. And before long, that whisper becomes a weight, pressing down on your peace, shaping your decisions, influencing how you see the world around you. Many people respond to that fear by searching for protection in whatever seems available. They look for something tangible, something they can hold on to, something that promises safety. And in that search, they often turn to practices, objects, or systems that appear to offer control over the unknown. It feels reassuring at first, like they are doing something to guard themselves. But what begins as a search for safety can slowly become a cycle of dependence, where fear is never truly removed, only temporarily managed. Divine protection does not work like that. It is not rooted in fear, and it does not require you to live in constant anxiety about what might happen next. The protection that comes from God flows from relationship, from trust, from a deep understanding that you are not exposed, not abandoned, not left to defend yourself against every unseen threat. Faith changes the way you see protection. Instead of reacting to fear, you begin to stand in confidence. Instead of constantly looking over your shoulder, you begin to walk forward with assurance. Because faith is not just belief in something distant, it is trust in a present reality. It is the conviction that God is with you, covering you, guiding you, even when you cannot see what is ahead. When fear is the foundation, everything becomes uncertain. You question every situation. You interpret every difficulty as a possible threat. You feel the need to protect yourself at all times, as if you are alone in the battle. And this kind of fear is exhausting. It drains your energy, clouds your thinking, and keeps you from experiencing peace. But when faith becomes the foundation, everything begins to shift. The same situations may still exist, the same challenges may still arise, but your perspective is different. You are no longer responding from a place of panic. You are responding from a place of trust. And that trust creates stability. It anchors you when circumstances try to shake you. There is a difference between being aware and being afraid. Awareness allows you to stay grounded and wise. Fear pushes you into reaction and confusion. Divine protection does not remove your awareness, it strengthens it. It allows you to see clearly without being overwhelmed. It gives you the ability to stand firm without being controlled by anxiety. Many people think protection must come from doing more rituals, more actions, more effort. But divine protection is not something you achieve through constant striving. It is something you receive and walk in. It is a covering that does not depend on your ability to maintain it through fear-driven behavior. It rests on something greater than your own effort. Faith does not deny that challenges exist. It does not pretend that difficulties are not real, but it refuses to give those challenges the final authority. It recognizes that there is a greater power at work, one that is not shaken by circumstances, one that is not limited by what is seen or understood. And when you begin to live from that place, your inner world changes. The tension begins to release. The constant need to control every outcome begins to fade. You start to experience a peace that does not depend on everything being perfect. A peace that remains even when things are uncertain. This does not mean that fear will never try to return. It will. Thoughts will come. Situations will arise that challenge your confidence. But the difference is that you no longer give fear permission to take root. You recognize it for what it is, a voice that does not define your reality. And instead of agreeing with it, you return to faith. You remind yourself of what is true, of what is Sabbath, of what does not change. Divine protection is not fragile. It is not easily broken. It is not something that disappears the moment you feel uncertain. It is steady, constant, reliable. And the more you understand this, the less you are driven by fear, the less you feel the need to search for external solutions to internal insecurity. And gradually, you begin to walk differently. Not cautiously in fear, but confidently in trust. Not burdened by the need to defend yourself at every moment, but strengthened by the awareness that you are already covered, already held, already protected in a way that does not depend on fear, but is sustained through faith. Victory is a word many people use, but few truly understand. To some, it means the absence of struggle. To others, it means overcoming visible obstacles. But true victory, lasting, unshakable victory, is not defined by what is happening around you. It is defined by what is established within you. It is not the result of perfect circumstances. It is the result of alignment with something greater than circumstances. Walking in victory is not a moment. It is a way of living. It is a posture of the heart, a mindset that shapes how you respond to every situation. And this kind of life is not built on emotion, because emotions rise and fall. It is not built on temporary inspiration, because inspiration fades. It is built on two unchanging foundations: the Word and the Spirit. The Word gives direction. It brings clarity into confusion. It defines truth in a world filled with shifting ideas and opinions. When everything around you feels uncertain, the Word remains steady. It does not adjust itself to circumstances. It does not weaken under pressure. It stands firm, offering guidance that is not influenced by fear or doubt. But knowing the Word intellectually is not enough. Victory is not found in information alone. It is found in application. When the Word moves from being something you hear to something you live, it begins to transform how you think, how you speak, and how you act. It reshapes your perspective. It challenges the patterns that once held you back. It replaces uncertainty with conviction. The Spirit brings life to the Word. Without the Spirit, the Word can feel distant, like principles that are difficult to connect with daily life. But when the Spirit is active, the Word becomes alive. It speaks into your situation. It becomes personal. It guides you not just in general truth, but in specific moments. Walking in the Spirit means developing sensitivity. It means learning to recognize that inner prompting, that quiet leading that directs you even when there is no external sign. It requires stillness in a noisy world. It requires attention in a distracted environment. But the more you learn to listen, the clearer that guidance becomes. Victory is found in the combination of these two: the stability of the Word and the movement of the Spirit. One anchors you, the other leads you. One gives you truth, the other helps you apply it. And together, they create a life that is not easily shaken. Many people wait for victory to appear before they believe in it. They look at their circumstances and decide whether they are winning or losing. But walking in victory means you begin with the belief, not the evidence. You stand on truth even when the situation has not yet changed. You act with confidence even when the outcome is not yet visible. This is where transformation happens, because when your actions are no longer controlled by what you see, you begin to break free from limitation. You are no longer reacting, you are responding with intention. You are no longer waiting, you are moving forward with purpose. There will still be challenges. There will still be moments of pressure, moments where everything seems to push against you. But victory changes how you engage with those moments. Instead of being overwhelmed, you become focused. Instead of being discouraged, you become determined. Not because the challenge is small, but because your foundation is strong. Consistency is key in this walk. Victory is not sustained through occasional effort. It is built through daily alignment, through small decisions that reflect what you believe, through choices that reinforce truth even when it would be easier to follow old patterns. And over time, those choices create strength. You begin to notice that what once shook you no longer has the same effect. What once caused you to hesitate no longer controls your steps. There is a resilience that develops, a steadiness that cannot be easily disrupted. Walking in victory also changes how you see yourself. You no longer identify with past failures or present struggles. You begin to see yourself through the lens of truth rather than experience. And that shift in identity influences everything else. Because how you see yourself determines how you live. There is authority in this kind of life. Not loud or forceful, but undeniable. It is the authority of someone who is grounded, who is not easily swayed, who carries a sense of purpose that is not dependent on external validation. And as this becomes your way of living, you stop chasing victory as something distant. You stop waiting for the perfect moment to feel confident or secure. Instead, you begin to live from a place where victory is already established. Not because of what you have done, but because of what you are rooted in, what you are aligned with, and what you continue to walk in every single day.